Hi, Care Team leaders. I just want to come to you this time in a video. I know we've never really done this, but I've been thinking about it for quite some time. And what I want to do today is I want to just download to you some stuff that Pastor Matt downloaded to all of us at our all-staff meeting this past July. And if you want to, you can take your Bibles and turn to Philippians chapter 3. It's a well-known chapter of writings of Paul to the Philippian church. And I want to kind of go through quite a few of these verses and how this affects us as a care team as we look ahead to 2014, to a new campus, and how we can make what we're doing now even better. In Philippians 3:1, in fact, in the following verses, we see the 5 priorities of a church leader. The priorities we need to keep in mind as we lead our people in our ministries is what I need to keep in mind as I lead you guys, and the 5 priorities you need to have in leading your particular ministry that you lead. First of all, in Philippians chapter 3, verse 1, he says this, "Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. For me to write the same things to you is not tedious, but for you it is safe." Evidently, Paul had written this stuff that he's getting ready to write to again before. And he's saying, look, just because I've written to you before doesn't mean you don't need to hear it again. I know that if I hear something once, it probably isn't going to stay around in my mind very long. So it's not tedious to keep repeating things. The first thing I want you to have, the first priority I want you to think about is that we need to repeat ourselves. In other words, if we say it once, that's great. We need to say it again and again and again. In fact, probably when you think you said it enough, you need to double it because it's still not enough, because vision leaks. People forget. We kind of get boggled down in our everyday life and we forget about the main thing, and sometimes we forget about why we're doing what we're doing. There's power in repetition. What, as Pastor Matt likes to say, what gets repeated gets repeated. In other words, as you repeat it to your people, and I repeat it to you, and you repeat it to your people, then they're going to start saying it to their people. And it's going to get down into the culture of your ministry. They're going to get it. The reason we do care ministry is the basic thing is we want to share the love of Christ through meeting people's spiritual, physical, and emotional needs of our church. And so that's a very powerful statement of vision. What do we want to do? We want to share the love of Christ, period. That's above it. That's the first filter. We want to share the love of Christ. How? By meeting the spiritual, emotional, and physical needs of the people of Next Level Church. That's a pretty powerful filter as you think about why we do what we do. So you may want to back that up in this video and listen to it again. You'll hear me say it again. The reason we exist is to share the love of Christ through meeting those needs that are physical, spiritual, and emotional. And so when we say that over and over again, look what he says. Paul says, look, this isn't something just, oh my gosh, he's on that track again. Would he get off of that track? Instead, he says, it's not tedious, but for you, it is safe. It is how we safeguard the culture of what we do here at Next Level Church. And as we add many more leaders, as we keep growing and growing, we're going to have to keep adding leaders, and they're going to be new to it. They're not going to remember. They don't know what you're doing or why you're doing it. You just said, hey, yeah, I'll bring a meal, or, oh, sure, I'll visit a hospital. But we got to keep on, keeping on, sharing and repeating what our culture is about. And the why behind the what that we talk about is what defines and safeguards the culture. So if we tell people, oh, the reason we do this is because this, oh, listen, this is why this goes on, this is why we do this, they're going to go, oh, and they're going to get it. And so that's why it's important to keep repeating yourself to your team over and over. The second priority of a church leader is to have an accurate view of your past accomplishments. Take a look at this in verses 4 through 7. Paul writes, "Though I also might have confidence in the flesh, if anyone else thinks he may have confidence in the flesh, I more so. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew, the Hebrews, concerning the law, a Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, concerning the righteousness which is in the law, blameless." Then he gets to verse 7, he says, "But what things were gained to me, these I have counted a loss for Christ." What we need to look at is our past accomplishments, no matter what they are. They're a foundation for your present ministry and leadership, but they're not a badge of entitlement. I've been in church ministry for 33 years. I surrendered to the gospel ministry in 1980, but that doesn't mean anything in my present day except, okay, that gives me a platform and it gives me a foundation, but it doesn't mean I can rest back on my laurels and go, okay, safe. I'll just take it from here and just coast. There's no coasting in this army of God. There is no backing off and sloughing off. No, we need to keep going strong. It's a great way to look at it. Look, I used to do this, and I've done this, and I've done this. That's great. And that gives us a foundation, but it doesn't entitle me to any special privilege or, hey, look at me, I've got this done, or I did this. That's not how it is at all. Don't discredit the past, though. I mean, he lists, hey, these things are what I have. Don't discredit the past, but view it appropriately. Put it in proper context. Look at this. Paul didn't call his past a waste, but he said, I counted it loss for Christ. It's a sacrifice. God, here's my past. Everything I've ever done for you, good, bad, whatever, it's yours, God. I give it to you as an offering. And Lord, use me in the future. So that's what he's saying here. The third priority of a church leader is to have an insatiable desire to know Christ and learn. Look at verses 10 through 11. I love these verses. 10 and 11 says, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection, the fellowship of his sufferings, being conformed to his death, if by any means I may attain to the resurrection from the dead. We need to have that insatiable desire to know Christ, not to just head knowledge, but to experience Christ in our life. This brings up the issue of teachableness, of being teachable. We define the word teachable here at Next Level Church as being willing to relearn what we think we already know. Let me say that again. Teachableness is the ability to be willing to relearn what we think we already know. Down here in the South, we've had a lot of people come from up north, and they always want to tell us, hey, well, I lived up north, this is how we did it. And one of the things that Floridians got to be starting to be saying is, we don't really care how you did it up north. Now, that may be a bad attitude, but here's the issue. You may have come from a different church, a different place, a different way. And it may or may not fit in with the culture of Next Level Church. I, having been in Southern Baptist work for 30-something years, I had to relearn and rethink a lot of things. And I had to say, okay, and it stretched me sometimes. I had to go, wait a minute, why are we doing this? And I was lovingly taught the why behind the what. And I was willing to be, okay, well, let's give it a shot. It's not unbiblical, so let's go for it. It's so easy when we get to a certain point, we don't think we need to learn anything anymore. We got it. We've done this. But that's not true. There's so much to learn about care ministry. There's so much for you to learn about how to do hospitals, or how to do meals, or how to take care of benevolence, or how to do prayer time, or how to do just said yes, or counseling. There's so many different things here. And here's what I want to challenge you. Find out who is that person that's ahead of you. Maybe like 4,000 member church, 5,000 member church, and find out who they are that does what you do in their ministry. Get their phone number, get their email address, start talking to them, develop a conversation. Maybe they're local. Say, hey, can we sit down and have a cup of coffee together? Maybe they're distant. Get on the phone, give them a phone call or Skype or Facebook with them. But begin to start saying, how can I do my ministry better, and how is maybe somebody else doing it better than I? So also learn from within the church as well. Talk to other pastors, talk to other church leaders. Hey, how are you doing this? And why do we do this way? So you can learn that whole why behind the what. Learn outside. Go outside to other people, like I said, to other people in other churches. Look up. Go to people above you. Your team director. Come to me. Go ask one of the other pastors. Hey, what's this about? What's a better way of doing this? And don't be afraid to go down in the organization. Don't be afraid to go down and ask your people's opinion about, hey, how can we make Next Level Church Care Ministry better? How can we make what we're doing here, providing meals, better? Don't be afraid to do that. Then let's look finally at verse 12. He says, not that I have already attained or am already perfected, but I press on that I may lay hold of that which Christ Jesus has also laid hold of me. This fourth step is, don't be afraid to keep taking a risk, pushing out. Don't be afraid to keep saying, hey, this may not work, but why not? Let's try this. The danger of being successful is we become risk averse. We're afraid to mess it up. But we've got to remember, what brought us here is not going to take us there. So we've got to remember, we need to be trying new things. And without risk, we just become mediocre vanilla, and we keep telling people, hey, we want to be the rocky road of church, okay? And finally, think about those who you lead. Verse 17 says, brethren, join in following my example, and note those who so walk, as you have us for a pattern. This is a huge filter for our choices. When I think about stuff, or when I'm downloading stuff, or when I write or act, I need to do that with you in mind. And that's become my filter now, and as I've been growing in this, and as Matt challenged us, when I think about something, I'm downloading, I'm learning something, I want to do it with you in mind. As I pray for you diligently, as I think about what you're doing, as I keep asking, how can we do this better? How can I lead you better? How can we make care ministry better? I do that with you in mind. So we have a lot to offer people in sharing the love of Jesus Christ with this community. Finally, last, I want to repeat it. Remember, repetition, our past, teachability, risk, and teach. God bless you. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.